Everyone's good day is from today tonight
จะมีโอเค
คุณเมี่ยงแชร์จอเองเนาะ
ค่ะ
ตอนนี้เรามีแบนเนอร์หน้าห้องให้คุณเมี่ยงเห็นไหม ASEAN, across our ASEAN region. It would be very interesting for our communication, our the reporter, our journalists in the region to know some of the scenario of ASEAN, how ICT, how the technology and innovation can affect to our life, and how can we deal with that. Communicator, reporter, journalists need to know about that. So in short, may I invite Kun Supharat, please, from Microsoft Thailand to share the vision of working across ASEAN. Please welcome.
Okay. Yes. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Ajahn Kabonrat. Allow me to share with you about the research of the future of work across ASEAN, which Microsoft joining hand with an Asia Foundation to make this research. Okay. May I show my presentation to you? Okay. Take a moment, please. Okay, can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Not
yet. Okay.
Okay, yes. Okay, so the future of work across ASEAN, this paper, we intend to kind of introduce the policy prerequisite for the fourth industrial revolution to anyone who engaging or related to the job in this century. Because as you know, now we are entering to the fourth industrial already. So may I go in depth to this white paper? The agenda of the presentation today, I will go through with you about these 5-6 topics, and according to the timing, I will see how can we go through the last topic, which is the how ASEAN countries are preparing their workforce for the impact of the fourth industrial revolution. The first agenda, which I will lay to you about the definition of the industrial revolution charisma, and then I'll go through a little bit about the fourth industrial technology altering the landscape of the ASEAN industry. Then I will go for the preparation of the future of work and the key recommendation which finding from this research. And also we go through the macroeconomic and political trends of the affecting work across ASEAN. Then the last one, which is the one which I think you may be able to go through it, and it's very interesting as well, on the study of each ASEAN country on how they prepare for their workforce. So the first topic, I would like to lay a little bit about how for industrial revolution charisma. The first one, as you know, in the late 18th and early of 19th century, we call it the first industrial revolution, which was transition to the new manufacturing process in Europe and in the US. At that time, it was going from the hand production method to the machine. So like we have many transition from like chemical manufacturing, iron production process, and the increase of use of the steam water and the water power. And the second industrial revolution is lay in the timing of the 19th to the early of 20th century. We know it as the technology revolution, which enabled the widespread of adoption of the technology system, such as at that time we start to have telegraph and the railroad network. We have gas and water supply, and we also have the sewage system. Entering to the third industrial revolution, which is around the end of the late 20th century, we brought semiconductors, mainframe computing, personal computer, and the internet. I think in the third industrial revolution, most of us are familiar with it because we think we found it very close to us just like 10 years ago. Yeah. So now, actually, we are now in the fourth industrial revolution, which is blurring of the boundary between the physical and digital and biological world. As you feel, a lot of things come and the digital play in this situation a lot. You feel a lot of things come to you on hand. For example, you familiarize with the smartphone. You familiar with how the AI technology close to your daily life. For example, when you speak, it can transfer your speech to wording. Or in the industrial, a lot of industry in Thailand and in ASEAN already use robotics. And you also know a lot of like farmer and also in the manufacturing, they use Internet of Things to connect each machine together and talk together. You also watch some news on the television about the 3D printing, which they can print anything. For example, for the healthcare or healthcare supply, or even they can build house as well. So now we are fully entering to the fourth industrial revolution. So at this time, I would like to give you a little bit about the definition of some terms which will make you familiar in the fourth industrial revolution. You may heard about automation and robotics in manufacturing, and also the artificial intelligence and machine learning. How different? The automation is defined as the hardware or software that is capable of doing tasks automatically without human intervention. For the robotics, it's about specifically to the development of the automated machines. But for the artificial intelligence, this one is the ability of the software or hardware to exhibit human-like intelligence in the modern system. And the machine learning, it works very close to artificial intelligence. It allows computer to autonomously learn and how to act by analyzing massive quantity of data. And another four terms is about Internet of Things, additive manufacturing, and the cloud computing. For the IoT, IoT, Internet of Things, is about the global network of the computer or the sensor and actuator connected through the Internet protocol, also being used to define objects that talk or transmit data or information to each other over the Internet. You may imagine in the farm, when the farmer they want to produce rice, for example. If they want to make it more productive or more efficient, many of scientists, they use IoT sensor to put the IoT sensor onto the ground and collecting data of soil pH or the water condition, for example. And that one, it collect and talk to each other and pull those information onto the cloud. So we call that Internet of Things. The next one is about additive manufacturing, or you might familiar the wording as the 3D printing. The 3D printing is the production process in which a machine converts digital blueprints or scan into a physical object by layering material into the precise shapes. For cloud computing, now is very much important in this era. Because cloud computing has enabled the growth of innovation ecosystem around the world, and it allows entrepreneurs to rapidly build, test, and grow new applications and websites. So this can help technology from the analog business previous time to more effectively by providing more efficient internet IT infrastructure and international communication. So cloud computing can give rise in entirely new platform of the business and continuous data transfer between the widely dispersed user. Nowadays, I think like for example, the medium and large company all of them using cloud computing, or even though yourself, if you are using email any company, all those data transfer from each of our personal email to another person, all information collecting into cloud. So we are, even though we don't know it is happened, but now it's happened accordingly. So is the future to be feared? In its history data era, you find that all the four industrial revolution, technology innovation has disrupted and replaced and transformed existing industry and generate intense debates around the impact of the change on job, definitely. And as the fourth industrial revolution unfolds, new and emerging technology are expected to, again, drastically alter the economic landscape and the way that workers navigate it. So this incipient technology will help many companies reach higher level of productivity at lower cost. But at the same time, it's possible that entire industry may be transformed beyond recognition. So their workforce replaced or substantially augmented by software and machine. And ASEAN market and labor force already evolved rapidly in response to trend in the region economy, political and environment landscape, and also the thanks to the change brought by the fourth industrial technology. So in a nutshell, actually, even though we are entering to the fourth industrial, but if we prepare ourselves, we will be able to utilize the technology which we already have for a better income. So leading the occupation in a number of ASEAN countries at a high risk of the replacement as a result of automation. For example, in Cambodia, because the garment and production dominate the manufacturing sector and is an important source of the rural employment. Close to 500,000 of sewing machine operators may lose their job to automation. In Vietnam, also the footwear and garment sector account for nearby 40% of the rural manufacturing job. And in Thailand and Indonesia, the automation risk is particularly acute for approximately 1 million shop sales assistant, about 1.5 million office clerk. Food and beverage production contribute to around 27 and 30% of all rural manufacturing employment in this country are also at risk of the automation. Because rural workers have on average lower level of the education and are more limited in the reskill and upskilling opportunity, automation and robotic pose a significant risk to their livelihood. So for industrial all our ASEAN countries will be affected. And the result impact of the employment pattern is likely to be dramatic. So one study found that 56% of the manufacturing workers in Vietnam, Philippines, Thailand, Indonesia, and Cambodia are likely to be replaced by artificial intelligence. So workers who adequate upskill to manage the higher order tasks, artificial intelligence enabled may be able to remain in their sectors and even increase their income. But the least skilled are more likely to be displaced and potentially forced to compete for a diminishing supply of low-paid work that cannot easily be replaced by the AI or other form of automation. So you can see from here that if all the workforce, they know that they need to learn or upskill in particular skill that benefit to their job, they will be able to gain and secure their work. But the one who are not be able to follow the digital skill which in the requirements of the industry, they may at risk to be disrupted. But in the rise of the factory automation does not mean that all the ASEAN 80 million more manufacturing workers will left jobless. If they are automated, even highly automated factory require human labor to design, monitor, service, and train the machines. For example, Toyota and Tesla rely on thousands of human workers to run their high-tech car factory. So it's not mean that those factory will just only rely on the automation, but they still need worker who has a skill of design, monitor, service, and to train the machines for them. So though repetitive, unskilled, and purely physical manufacturing tasks are most likely to be automated, new opportunity will open up to this same sector, requiring workers to have higher order skill in problem solving, data literacy, and communication. So in this white paper or in this research, it is 128 pages long, very intensive white paper, which examines the challenge confronting ASEAN policymakers in the face of the fourth industrial revolution and how they can work together with other stakeholders to promote prosperity, jobs, and inclusive growth. So during the interview of the research conducted by the ASEAN Foundation in the country team in Cambodia, Indonesia, Malaysia, Philippines, Singapore, and Thailand and Vietnam. So this paper describes some of the key hurdles facing ASEAN economies as well as recent ongoing efforts by both public and private sector to address them. And the paper also suggests a set of practical steps that can be taken now to benefit the region's economy regardless of the shape of the coming decade labor market shift. The good of this paper is that they go to interview all the ASEAN governments and also the NGO which related to and the mission of job placement, and also some public organization, and also the many of ministry as well. So this paper you can find very in-depth information about how each of country they prepare for their people in the country when they're entering to the fourth industrial revolution. So from the study, they have some key recommendations, which I summarize for you here. The recommendation, they lay into 3 topics. The first one is about policy partnerships to improve labor market dashboard. In the paper, they talk about that government should formulate responsive labor market reform. Policymakers must strengthen their understanding of the challenge ahead of the better data. So it means they recommend that each government in each country should have data. And the data should not just come just from certain group of people, but they should listen from many of people in their country and also across border government which related to that country as well. So for the collecting data, this coordinate policy making at the national and regional level, innovative new public-private partnership. Policymaker can leverage new repository of workforce data to more accurate evaluate current and future trends in the labor market. Actually, for this kind of thing, many of industrial human resource research, for example, LinkedIn, they also have many insight of like workforce data or the demanding of manufacturing in each country. So like policymaker can find this information anywhere, and also in talking with people related to this topic in that country as well. The case study, in the study, they showcase of the Singapore, that Singapore, the Singaporean policymaker, they consistently collect and access data on the workforce and the marketplace to monitor current labor market demand and make evidence-based prediction on the future needs of the labor market. For example, Manpower Ministry has recently made it compulsory for the company to report retrenchment within 5 working days. So if 5 or more staff are retrenched within 6 months, so this enables the government and unions to act on the data more quickly, where they have also been called to use data from job posting on the National Job Bank more fully. For example, if the vacancy of the particular type of job is reposted, it may indicate more Singaporean need skill in that area. So all this research reflected to the policymaker so that the policymaker can engage with their stakeholder to provide the right skill to the people, to their population. The second insight is about enhancing upskill capability to respond to the market demands. ASEAN countries must upgrade the existing education and vocational training ecosystem in a way that make them more adaptive and responsive, so that gap in skill can be addressed more rapidly and effectively. As you know, we transform from the second industrial revolution to the third industrial revolution and to the fourth industrial revolution. So the skill that used in each revolution is different. And now we are entering to the fourth industrial revolution. The skill or the demand of skill here at this moment is so different. And so each government, they need to find and to fill up the gap skill. So that we call upskill or reskill their workforce in the country to more rapidly and effectively to respond to the business in their country. So this can be achieved through the smart government action and a more robust partnership with the private sector actors. Policymakers should also develop new approach to continuously learning, upskill and credentialing that are more accessible, especially to the women and underserved population. And you might also heard that in some country, women are kind of left behind. And when we're talking about digital literacy, some women feel it is kind of man job. It is not for a woman job. So this thing is need to be considered, and we should pursue women, especially in the manufacturing or anywhere else, to take on the digital skills so they can enjoying and riding up onto the industrial revolution benefit as well. The challenge is that the traditional method of the skill building and technology, vocational education and training, we call it TVET. You will see this term a lot in this paper. The traditional method of the skill building of the TVET are not responsive enough to match the increasingly variability in the labor market skill demand, nor they match the demand of the upskill from workers themselves. So recommendation is that policymakers must work with the academia, civil society, and the private sector actors in order to design and promote creative models of the continuing education and training and skill building in their countries. One interesting program that may serve as a model of the future education and training initiative, which this paper called out, is about Thai MOOC. And the Thai MOOC is a massive online open course established in 2017 through the partnership between the Ministry of Digital Economy and Society, Thailand, Ministry of Science and Technology, and the Ministry of Education. Thai MOOC is built on the open source edX framework and is aimed to fulfill the Thailand 4.0 vision of ensuring lifelong learning for the citizens. The innovative model has partnership with government organizations and universities and allow people to enroll remotely in short-term courses and earn certificates that are recognized by Thai universities. I think if you would like to learn more about Thai MOOC, Ajahn Kamunrat will be the right one to provide you with this information. And another one, this is about the Thai MOOC. I will pass. It's the same information as the previous slide. Another example is that the work being done to develop the Eastern Economic Corridor through the private sector partnership with OPEC. This is the case study in Thailand. As you know, right, that in Thailand, the government, Thai government, want to they invest a lot in Eastern Economic Corridor in 3 provinces, which are Chonburi, Rayong, and Chachoengsao. And in that Eastern Economic Corridor, the Thai government wants to build effective and providing a lot of economic scale. And even though we have a lot of new manufacturing or new innovative industry there, but the government in Thailand also need workforce which has certain digital skill to serve as the manpower in this economic corridor as well. So through the private sector partnership with OPEC, OPEC is the Office of Vocational Education Commission under Minister of Education in Thailand. They has worked in partnership with the Office of the Higher Education Commission, Eastern Economic Corridor Office, and the Board of Investment to train workers to match the demand of the industry that could potentially locate in the EEC. So the initiative emphasizes on supplying vocational trained personnel to the 10 S-curve industry. This 10 S-curve industry are the industry which Thai government project that it could generate huge huge income for Thailand, and also focusing on the innovation industry as well. This focusing on the 4 industry, including automotive and parts, energy, food processing, and microelectronics. One public-private partnership, which is the Chevron Enjoy Science project, focus on Thailand youth aiming to augment 2S or the STEM skill to improve STEM education and TVET across the country. This is another example of how Thai business helping EEC on improving workforce to support Thailand 4.0. This is the initiative from Microsoft Thailand. We call the project Enhancing Employability Skill for the Underserved College in these 3 province in EEC. Microsoft joined hand with DIPA and also OPEC to build this program we call Advancing the Future of Work, which we are targeting to train about 6,000 vocational school of the students, OPEC students in these 3 provinces on 2 subjects. One is about data analytics, and another one is about web application, which we think that the data analytics is one of the digital skill which employer in the EEC are looking for, and also the web development, also another digital skill which they are looking for the workforce to become a web developer, or they may be able to develop the mobile application as well. So this project we just launched on February 26, and this project will roll out throughout this year. Okay, so the third one is about the structural reform that promote more innovative economies. Policymakers can address the shifting demand of the worker away from the labor incentive role and towards more knowledge-centric job by promoting policy that aim to grow the local digital and service economy, as well as the knowledge sector, where the demand of workforce is likely to expand. This means that because we enter into the 4th industrial estate, so the government needs to kind of like addressing and shifting the demand of the workforce away from the labor-intensive role out and towards more knowledge-centric job by promoting the policy that aim to grow the local digital service economy. So if the government, they have some incentive to the right industry, which is shifting to the new economy industry, that will also help shifting and also helping those workforce in the analog business to become a workforce in the digital economy as well. So the challenge is that it is difficult for a policymaker to track and predict the real effect of new and emerging technology that are not yet widely adopted. So the recommendation from this survey is that the policymaker should use cross-sectoral collaboration and experimentation to understand and prepare for the future innovation. So they may need to test, they need to set up some project and slowly moving people from one sector, which is the old one, and become to become like more digital. And so also providing digital skill training and certification and incentive to those business which can shift to the new era as well. The case study here is about like the promoting innovation in Malaysia. Malaysia government has acknowledged the importance of the digital economy by undertaking concerted effort to spur digital transformation. Malaysia Digital Economic Corporation, they are the government-owned, is still responsible for the management of the multimedia super corridor in Malaysia as a technology, industrial, and commercial zone. Its tasked with spearhead Malaysia Digital Hub and various technopreneurship program to attract global and local startups. So this result in related investment of the Malaysian ringgit 16.3 billion in 2016. So Malaysia Global Innovation and Creativity Center has become an important incubator of the new startup and catalyst within the digital entrepreneurship community. So if this thing leading by the government and the government have some incentive to support, it will generate more interest. And so all the workforce and all the industrial, they will look at it and moving to this radar. In another part, I will go through a little bit about the macroeconomic and political trend affecting the work across ASEAN. I saw that now it is on it's 9 o'clock already. Ajahn Kamunrat, would you like me to continue, or you want me to stop here and?
Yes, I think that
open the floor.
Yeah. Key information should be go on, please.
Okay, sure. So I will go a little bit further about this, and actually it is the intensive paper, so you can go beyond by yourself. There are about 6% trends which want to introducing to you. It's about the number one trend, talking about the digital knowledge economy promise new job. They say that entrepreneurship in ASEAN digital economy is growing more accessible and globally significant. So leading to new investment and wealth creation in the region, as well as uncertainty about where the benefit will occur. So it means that ASEAN startup raised billions of dollars from investors in Silicon Valley and elsewhere. So this company, including at least 10 unicorns with a valuation of more than $1 billion US, are transforming industry across ASEAN region and beyond. The unicorn is mean the company which come from startup at a certain level. They will facing a lot of challenges, but at the certain time when a lot of people across ASEAN or across the world using it, it become a giant. For example, Traveloka, you heard about it a lot. Traveloka is a startup unicorn established from Indonesia, or Lazada. So Lazada is the startup and the e-commerce platform from Traveloka is from Indonesia, but Lazada is from Malaysia. Or you also heard about Grab, which you are very familiar with. Is the startup from Singapore. So it means that digital knowledge economy, when it arises, it provides new job. So it means you can see that a lot of these people, they acquire a new workforce. With those new workforce, they need digital skill. So for example, Traveloka, right? The Traveloka is the flight and the hotel booking platform. They have like more than 10,000 of people who has digital skill at the back end, do coding, and also they can do data and analytics, and so they can finding and incentive and promotion at the right time for their customer. So this means that if we have the right industrial, right, and also policymaker of each country, they can provide the right skill to those people in that industry. That will create job, and that will create more income to those who upskill themselves as well. Trend number 2, the global supply chain are shifting to ASEAN. I think this one, anyone knowing that now ASEAN is very fruitful, and economic in ASEAN has generated a new middle class and modern industrial that can compete on the global stage. This because of this study is a survey before COVID, but now COVID it will kind of pause a little bit around the world. But at a nutshell, ASEAN economy is still very fruitful for anyone. So global supply chain are shifting to ASEAN. So it means that the workforce or job opportunity in ASEAN still arrive. Trend number 3, the rise of the global service economy. This talking about is different from normal business. As previous time we say all the goods they continue, like for example the goods, right? When they produce, they have to produce in the manufacturing, and they will shift and they will transfer across border to each other. But at the digital economy right now, you can see, as I give you an example of the Traveloka or Lazada, it's the global service economy. It is no border. So this is another benefit of the fourth industrial revolution, which opened the world and the work across no border of our country in ASEAN. So trend number 4, ASEAN is increasingly well educated and tech savvy. From the study, you see across ASEAN country, from Singapore to Cambodia, every government, they're looking for upskilling their people. So we can say that every country, the government there have some kind of plans. They have incentive or not incentive, is depending on their current situation. But we can say that ASEAN workers now are increasingly well educated, and they will get more and more support from the government and also the stakeholder that related to the workforce as well. Number 5, ASEAN face rising level of income inequality. It's because of for example, in Thailand, a country that has experienced tremendous growth, but richest 1% now own, according to the credit issue, fully 2/3 of the total wealth. This is considerably higher proportion than another country, including in the credit SUS annual survey. This because of the is because of the technology as well that made income inequality. It is unclear whether the overall productivity gains and the democratization of service promised by the fourth industrial technology will smooth out this income and wealth inequality, or whether this technology will further concentrate wealth and income growth in the privileged sector to the detriment of the other. So, the technology innovation will further the digital divide. The trend number 6, women often bear the burst of economic disruption. As I talked before earlier, women always left behind in many countries, from Cambodia, Philippines, and some more countries. So we need to provide more opportunity for women to study in STEM, so they can have a more equality, a better future, rather than previous time. And number 7, climate change and mitigation offer new challenge. Climate change is expected to have particularly serious effect on agriculture, fishing, tourism, and health, and result in significant loss of the traditional job. So, in the nutshell, because even though if the industrial they have disrupted by AI or the machine learning or cloud computing, and these people, they get back to their hometown. Unfortunately, their hometown climate change will be affected as well. They will facing drought, or they have not enough water for their agriculture. So that will be a challenge. So we have to, or the policymaker have to look at that as well, to upskill or reskill those workers in the manufacturing to be smart farmer, or do things with difference from whatever they have ever been before. So I think for this section is the last section of how ASEAN countries are preparing their workforce. Ajahn, I'm not sure whether you think it's okay, or I should go through a little bit about this.
Yeah, I think this is quite key important. Please go on, please. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Ka. So they come up with some case of a country in ASEAN. For example, Cambodia. They're talking about normal industrial of the Cambodia, saying that Cambodia worker characteristic is they have low education and low to medium skill level. They have low technical literacy, and in average age of the workforce is about 45 years old, and more than half of the Cambodian worker are at high risk of automation, in particularly those in the textile, clothing, and the footwear manufacturing sector. And so both public and private sector are lacking in preparing the workforce for the digital revolution sweeping in the region. Cambodia education and the TVET system. TVET stand for technical, vocational education and training system. Is kind of the general training system of each country, are still low perform comparing with those other countries in the region. But the national TVET policy offers a timely framework within which to find solution to enhance the country upskill capacity. So, sorry. So what they do is that the government has announced its aspiration to attain upper and middle income status by 2030. But to do so, the country will need to develop the skill of the Cambodian workforce to effectively utilize new technology and respond to the changing market demands. Currently, both the country government and private sector are lacking in preparing their workforce of the digital revolution sweeping in the region, and the national TVET policy offers timely framework. but the public-private partnership will be more important through which advancement of the existing TVET system. So to improve the accessibility of the awareness of the training and risky resource, policymakers should consider coordinating with the TVET system, social media site, and private sector to implement outreach and marketing campaign. You can see here is that the TVET of the Cambodia also will providing training together with some training platform, for example, Coursera, edX, Udemy, Udacity, or Khan Academy as well. So, in a nutshell, is that even though the government of Cambodia, they still far of competency to provide the training to their people, but they have a good partnership with this provider, training provider, and also some NGO in the Cambodia also providing some technology training to the Cambodian people as well to achieving or riding to the fourth industrial revolution. In Indonesia, they have a vast TVET system, the training system, which is undergoing a nationwide revitalization. But presently, many students still graduate without skill that make them employable. The flexibility of the digital technology has helped enrich the potential of women entrepreneurs, who lead the 35% of Indonesia SME and contribute more than 9% of GDP. From my read through this paper, I found that in women in Indonesia, they help and supporting they are very good in using technology to become an entrepreneur, and also can sell things on the online, on the Facebook very well. The nation internet economy is strong, growing, and expected to reach the USD about 100 million by 2025. Its tech startup scene is plural and dynamic and growing digital economy. As said, for example, one of the unicorn generating in Indonesia is Traveloka. It's generate huge money back to Indonesia, and they cannot do by their own. The government of Indonesia is supporting a lot, and also they have the vast network of people and startup that's supporting them as well. Indonesia has a vibrant culture of the creativity and entrepreneurship that nurture a diverse of the MSME sector. The MSME, not including those in the agriculture sector, they account 61% of the GDP and 88% of employment, thus presenting an important area of focus of the future of the Indonesian worker. So to the end, several initiatives are underway to improve the overall climate of the innovation and investment, including investment in the digital infrastructure, strengthens data protection laws, and attracting foreign talent and investment. Okay. For Malaysia is the regional and global hub for the knowledge economy, with an excellent business environment and strong entrepreneurship sector. Government takes a multi-pronged approach to developing labor market intelligence, such as through public-private partnership, to the National Talent Agency, or through Talent Corp, and the creation of the Malaysian Foresight Institute, which is the national initiative tasked with generating insight on the strategic future of the country. Which means that the governments, they didn't approach just to one group of people, so they active to approach, and they want to uplift their people to become more effective to ride in the industrial revolution. Despite its status as the regional hub, only 28% of the Malaysia workforce is classified as a high skill. So it's about 30, which I think is high, 1/3. And more than half of all Malaysian jobs are at high risk of displacement by technology in the next 2 decades. To encourage strategic foresight and long-term planning, the Malaysian government has created a dedicated center, which is the Malaysian Foresight Institute. This is the national level initiative within the Malaysian industry government. My Foresight seeks to create a common platform for the public sector, private sector, and academia to become together to generate shared insight on the strategic future, both locally and globally. This group conduct evidence-based inquiry into future policy issue, trend analyze, and capacity building to the development of the training and toolkits of the government policymakers. This one is very good. It's because of the government very open. So they create the common platform for anyone who want to give the insight, who want to provide information for the government. So the government will bring information from this think tank for them and for a discuss of the future, how they can help supporting the fourth industrial revolution in Malaysia. So they're quite open. For the Philippines, women are overrepresented in low skill and low income position, and only 1 in 2 women of the working age is in the workforce, even though women are overall better educated than men. So TESDA is the national agency responsible for training and upskilling the country workers, and it is working with other actors in the public and private sphere to not only improve the availability of the labor market data, but also upgrade the TVET ecosystem in order to provide workers the upskilling resource need to adapt to future market demands. So government has put into place new policy to address aspects of the changing labor force condition. The program implemented by the Department of Labor and Employment of the Philippines, such as the Special Program of Employment Students, Government Internship Program, and Job Start, so have begun to reduce youth employment. So free support service are also provided to the first job keeper, and emergency employment and youth bridging program are in the place to support the marginalized workers. In Singapore, as we know, Singapore has the highly skilled, but they have aging population, and they also high well in overall. But the government is offering an array of the programs such as its Skill Future and Adapt and Grow programs to help workers to upgrade their skill and competency and even train for new careers. In Singapore, as elsewhere in ASEAN, Singaporean women are significantly underrepresented in STEM field. This is in spite of the fact that the women comprise of 45% of the Singaporean workforce and 50% of enrolled university students. So women in Singapore do, however, have access to variety of reskill and upskill initiatives, many of which are government funded, as well as increasing number of professional groups that serve as a resource and network. So one such network is they call Women in Tech in Singapore, which convene and connect women in and or interested in the STEM field. Another group is they call Girl in Tech. This is the global nonprofit organization working to reduce gender inequality in high-tech industry, and the startup focus on the underlying inhibitors of development in Singapore. And also in Singapore, they have the very good initiative which government has implemented called Skill Future training course. This one launched in 2015. Is conduct regular survey with the individual and private company to track outcome of those who have participated in its workforce skill training course. This survey is said to be progressively broadened to cover the cost funded by the government. And the course also implement an earn and learn program as well, which offer employer an opportunity to hire fresh graduate from this program and allow these graduate who lack work experience to gain training in parallel within their job as well. So they work very close to employer, and their training is very intensive and very updated. So the employer will kind of very rely and trust of this program, and then hire the participant of this program to be employed. In Thailand, I talked about it already that we have MOOC and also OVID, Office of Vocational Education, working very close at the EEC area, that they want to produce digital manpower to support the very important industrial in that 10S curve. So I will pass the Thailand, and if you want to read more information, you can read through that white paper, which I will send later on. In Vietnam economy has transformed dramatically over the past 3 decades and is currently thriving globally connected middle income country. And but the vast majority of the Vietnamese workers, 74%, are employed in low-skilled jobs, and youth unemployment is high. So many university graduates cannot find jobs that use their degree. Government has begun to address the challenge of the fourth industrial revolution through a number of initiatives, but they are not yet under one coordinated, concerted policy. One area to address is lack of the digital standard, norm, or certification. Policymakers can also develop supportive policies to bring SME and their workforce up to speed and succeed in the digital economy. So my last slide here, trained employees in Vietnam only account for 60% of the total labor force, in which only 21% receive certificates. And the length of the training is 3 months or more. So therefore, when entering to the industrial revolution, the labor force face major challenge. The government must be responsible for guiding and identifying high-skilled human resource in response to the 4.0 movement. So enterprise, organization, and individual must do their own research in order to prepare human resource investment and support employees in accessing new science technology. So this is a quote from the director of the National Assembly Commission of the Social Welfare. So in the nutshell, you can go through, and in the nutshell, we focusing on 3 things. One is the policy partnership will help improve labor market dashboard. It means that each country policymaker should have labor market dashboard that they can consider and looking, and they can pointing and get support from their stakeholder. Number 2 is about the enhancing upskill capability for the manpower of their country as well. So in each country, they have various level of the digital skills. So they need to find the gaps and providing the right skill for the workforce that meets industry in that country. And the third one is that about the structural reform to promote more innovative economy. So government in each country need to structure and leading all the businesses to the right industry that could also bring the workforce and also provide the right skill for the workforce to take on for the right digital economy for to take on the fourth industrial revolution as well. So that's all for me for the research of the 128 pages in an hour. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Supharat Juramongkol, the manager of Philanthropy Lead Thailand. Yes, I have to apologize to the audience, also the class, that I cannot control the time at all, because information is very fantastic, right? And then I would like to say that you might already confirm yourself that no need to fear. Kun Supharat saying that at the beginning that is the future to be fear. No, no need to fear, but we need to prepare, right? And by the conclusion of Kun Supharat saying that all the country of our member country of ASEAN all preparing their citizen for the upskilled labor kind of that. So meaning that only the standalone government cannot be survive, cannot make it happen. It has to be three conclusion that you said. It's a partnership with all the private sector and at all level, and also the upskill, reskill in kinds of enhancing kind of that, and then the restructure all kinds of. So this is kind of the big fantastic information that not only the student but all, as we are all the ASEAN citizen, we need to well prepare on that. And then very fantastic that the Singapore, they have their own ministry that called manpower ministry, right? So this is kinds of the well prepared government. So I would like to open up the floor for everyone. We have some feedback from the chat room, and also some from the class. Okay, we are open for the chat room first. Annie, let's see that. Any feedback from the chat room, Pami?
No.
Oh, none of the feedback, right? Okay,
Yes.
let's feedback from Kun Connie. You would like to give any reactions?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Professor.
Yes.
I want to ask just for two questions.
Okay.
For first, about artificial intelligence. How does artificial intelligence build up the job, not to replace the human?
Okay, yeah. As per definition, saying that actually the artificial intelligence it helps each industry to perform better, to help lower costs, right, and also for more productive. It definitely that each worker they need to upskill anyway. Even though we passed three industrial revolution already for the first and second and third, everyone needs to transform themselves and also reskill themselves to take on benefit of artificial intelligence. So as one of the example there, Toyota and also Tesla, right? Toyota and Tesla, they have the machine which run by artificial intelligence. But in their own machines cannot run by their own. But they need someone who have the skill, the right skill, to monitor, to train to train the machine as well. So that one, that people, they need to upskill themselves. They need to learn something new. So that one, it can help them to increase income as well. So it means artificial intelligence, even it's come, but people also need to reskill themselves or upskill themselves to align to get that job. So if we say artificial intelligence is calm, and if people are doing nothing, so it means that they will left behind. It's become low skill people. So at this moment, no one needs low skill people. At this moment, everyone needs someone who has digital skill to take on some professionals. Is that okay for you?
This for my second question. I would like to ask about nursing. If I want to work in country in ASEAN, what the different process of work to America and country in ASEAN? What is the different process? Do you know?
I don't have that information about that. I don't think I can answer that question.
Okay.
Sorry.
I think this should be your thesis, huh, Tony?
Okay, thank you.
As I heard, I think during the COVID situation, right, you also see from the television saying that now the AI for health is coming, right? Some state quarantine, they use robotics, right? They use AI, right? And that robot collecting the patient information, and also they can go by order remotely, go to that patient and go to do something with the patient. So this also it is very close to our time already, that artificial intelligence will help. For AI at nowadays, I know that a lot of hospital in Thailand, they start to use application. Right? For example, if they want to go to the hospital in past, for example, they go to the government hospital, which they have to queue for many hours. They have to go early in the morning, and you can meet a doctor at 11 or 12 o'clock. So they have to wait for a long time. But with the application AI for health, they can talk to the nurse first in their home. So the nurse can help evaluate their symptoms first. And if nurse can advise them, and they have no need to come to the hospital, they just take some medicine, which I'm not sure can order or not. So it help the patient not, no need to go to the hospital right away, and it will be reduce the burden of people in the hospital and avoid affected of some disease in the hospital as well. So it's come already, AI for health and nursing, doctor, in the hospital system. Now it's already changed, and will will change much. And some of them as well. Now I think you will heard about the remote operation. So if the application, and now you have face-to-face, and doctor in the hotel in the area, they can supporting the doctor in the rural area operation or something like that. So now it's come in our life already. AI for AI for health. Yes. So I think for us, we just need to prepare ourselves, and also kind of not fear about AI, and how we can utilize AI, use it for more productive way.
Yeah, yeah. As you mentioned that data literacy and communicating is one among the fundamental knowledge that everyone should be prepared for that, right? Technology literacy, data literacy, kind of that. Yeah. Okay. Others, I would like to share something else. If not, I would like to close the session of live. Have to apologize you all that tonight we cannot control the time because information is very fruitful. And then I do hope that all the audience tonight can have prepare themselves in kinds of their job or even their family members, kind of that. So on behalf of the international program, we would like to thank the manager of Philanthropy Lead, Microsoft Thailand, Kun Supharat Juramongkol, for your great presentation, and then she also provides us the document both in English and Thai, so everyone can re-study by yourself. Thank you very much, Kun Supharat. Thank you. Bye bye.
pleasure บ๊ายบายค่ะขอบคุณค่ะ
Okay, so we come next to our class. The live session has closed down, and then let's see how good we do together. Okay, Kun Mala, how are you? Albert, how are you? Let's show your face first.
I'm fine ครับอาจารย์